Sports fans are being reminded of former NBA player Adreian Payne after a clip resurfaced on social media showing ESPN host Malika mentioning false allegations made against Adreian while reporting the news about his passing back in May 2022. The sports journalist is under fire for her remarks as she's being called out for constantly attempting to taint the image of black men on the sports network. You would think that a womanist who's concerned with the feminism agenda and protecting women will be honoring a man who practically lost his life, doing what women like Malika are always saying that men should do, and that's to protect women. But modern women will show you time and time again. They will get you to chase after them into a burning building, all in the name of rescuing them, and as you run into the building looking for them, you look out the window and realize they're already outside. And what happens to the man inside that burning building? Well, we've seen countless stories, at least enough to know how the story ends. No different for former NBA player Adreian Payne. His girlfriend called him to meet her at her friend's house who was involved in a domestic dispute with her child's father. Answering that call to help his girlfriend and her friend is what ultimately led to Andrew losing his life at 31 years old. Take a second to make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Click the notification bell for all updates. If you're watching from Orlando, Florida, Orange County, Florida, or East Lansing, Michigan, much love to you all. Let me know below in the comments. Adreian Payne was born in Dayton, Ohio in 1991. He was raised with his mother and father in a very poor and violent neighborhood. His father went to prison for selling drugs when he was 5 years old, which left his mother alone. He was often teased as a kid because he had a learning disability and he couldn't read. So he found himself behind the other kids and was constantly teased for his learning disability. As a young boy, Adreian, he was not interested in sports. He was so clumsy and uncoordinated that his brothers would sneak off to play basketball and leave him at home because they didn't want him on their team. He spent a lot of time with his mother, and one night she was cooking dinner for him. The smoke from the food that she was frying, it became overwhelming. His mother had a long history of asthma, so she stepped out of the kitchen and walked up the stairs. Adreian followed behind her and into her bedroom. It became apparent that she was having an asthma attack, so she opened the window, hung her head out, and tried to breathe slowly while asking for her inhaler. Adreian fished through drawer after drawer, but yelled out, "I can't find it, Mama, I can't find it." His mother stepped away from the window and collapsed on the bed. Adreian was there with his mother as she took her last breath. He was just 13 years old when his mother died in his arms. It was a very traumatic experience for Adreian. By this time, his father was out of prison and took a more active role in his life, but his grandmother was his legal guardian. Adreian said his grandmother was very strict and gave her credit for keeping him away from trouble. He wasn't a part of drugs, crime, or gangs. Instead, as a teenager, he enjoyed going to church with his grandmother. He paid close attention to the sermons and really enjoyed going there because he felt a lot of love in church. His grandmother encouraged him, found help, and then a few teachers ended up teaching him how to read. He also experienced a growth spurt during this time, growing to 6'3" by the 9th grade. He ended up making his high school varsity basketball team and started getting letters from several schools, but was told he would have to work extremely hard to get better grades if he planned on getting accepted into any college. He wanted to play for Michigan State University, but their head coach, Tom Izzo, wouldn't accept him into the athletic program unless he made the cut for the academic program as well. Adreian had tutors that worked with him every day, and it took him multiple times, but he eventually passed the ACT with a score that was high enough for him to be accepted. In 2010, he celebrated with his high school basketball team when they won the Division IV state championship. Adreian graduated from high school and went to college at Michigan State. During his freshman year, he was diagnosed with permanent reduced lung capacity, an ailment which affected his stamina. But despite the diagnosis, he continued to excel on the team.
Start our Super Tuesdays.
That's a bad shot. There you go. Oh, that's not.
Valentine, three. Hit it again.
One day during his junior year of college, he went back home to Ohio to visit. His grandmother so happy to see her grandson. They went out for lunch and a movie, and when he left later that day, his grandmother stopped on the porch and watched him leave until he was gone out of sight. Something that she had never done before on his other trips. Normally, she would just stand inside the house and watch behind a screen door. But something was different about that time. On that same night, Adrian's family called him when he was back in Michigan with bad news. His grandmother had passed away. She had had an asthma attack, the same condition that claimed his mother's life. After a second big loss, Adrian just wanted to give up. He had to work harder academically to keep up with his grades and remain in the program. Plus, he lost his mom and now his grandmother. It was just him all alone in the world, or at least that's how he felt. One day, Adrian went with the team to visit a children's hospital, and there was one kid there that really liked Adrian. That was an 8-year-old girl named Lacey. Lacey had brain cancer, but seeing Adrian really made her day. Adrian formed a relationship with Lacey and her family, often visited her. She attended their basketball games, and ended up getting a lot of national media attention. Adrian was like a big brother. She called him Superman. And there was a time she had undergone a very aggressive treatment. Adrian came to see her, and Lacey hadn't smiled for days. She just wanted to sleep. Her mother whispered that Adrian was there, and it really lit her up. Adrian, who was also going through a lot of pain physically, mentally, and emotionally, had no complaints when he saw what Lacey was going through. When the Spartans won the Big Ten tournament title in Indianapolis during the 2013-14 season, Lacey was also there to celebrate with Adrian and the team.
It's kind of sad, but I'm kind of happy for him.
Say something that you want Adrian to know before he leaves Michigan State.
That I think of him all the time and I love him.
Adrian is joined by his dad, Thomas Payne, and his special friend, Lacey Holsworth.
I would just like to thank God because, without him, none of this is possible.
Unfortunately, Lacey passed away in April 2014. A few months later, in June 2014, Adrian was selected with the 15th overall pick in the 2014 NBA draft by the Atlanta Hawks. He ended up suffering an injury that caused him to miss 10 games early in his first season at the Hawks. Eventually, he was traded to Minnesota, where he played for 2 seasons, before being traded to Orlando in his 4th season. But then there was a report. ESPN had an exclusive report in January 2018, where they reported that Adrian was accused of SA that dated back from his freshman year of college. As a result, Orlando cut ties with Adrian, and he had to continue his career overseas. There was an investigation completed by authorities and the state prosecutor, who reported that no crime was committed. Adrian maintained his innocence and no longer had to deal with those accusations, but his career had already been ruined. He continued playing overseas. His last team he was signed to was in Lithuania. He played his last game there in early 2022. A couple of months later, on May 9th, Adrian's girlfriend got a call from her friend, Tatiana. Tatiana and her boyfriend, Lawrence, they argued all the time, and Adrian's girlfriend had previously served as a mediator to prevent the situation from getting physical. So once again, Tatiana called Adrian's girlfriend to come over, but this time, Adrian's girlfriend called Adrian. She told Adrian what was going on and wanted him to meet her at Tatiana's house. Adrian was sitting outside in his car when Tatiana's boyfriend Lawrence pulled up to the house. Lawrence had been out with his father and his son that he shared with Tatiana. When he arrived to the house, he was upset that Adrian was there, and they exchanged words outside by Adrian's car. Then Lawrence went into the house and came back with a gun. One of the women yelled for him not to shoot Adrian, and then boom, it happened. Lawrence shot Adrian, then he called the police saying that he was afraid of Adrian because Adrian had a gun. He told cops that Adrian was going to shoot him and that Adrian was 6'10", 230 to 240 pounds, while he was only 5'8", 150 pounds. During their initial investigation, police found that Adreian was not armed. He did not have a gun. Witnesses also contradicted Lawrence's account of the events, saying that Adreian never threatened Lawrence. Lawrence was arrested and entered a not guilty plea. I talk about this all the time, just like Sister Ali, she's been saying this forever. These women will book you for a fight and then run off. Adreian got booked for a fight when his girlfriend made that phone call for him to meet her at Tatiana's house. Tatiana and her boyfriend obviously going through this toxic routine, and Tatiana knew that Lawrence was on his way back to the house with their son. That's why she called them. But here's my issue. If you thought Lawrence was going to do something or you guys had an issue, why didn't you call the police instead of calling your friend? And then the friend called her boyfriend for backup. And then here's another thing. Lawrence told investigators that he was in a relationship with a woman named Tara. And Tara is one of Tatiana's friends, which probably has something to do with Tatiana and Lawrence arguing. Tatiana and Lawrence, they were going back and forth, and so she called all of these folks to get in their business. When none of this had nothing to do with Adreian and his girlfriend. Adreian should have told his girlfriend, you're not going over there to get into them folks' business. Take your behind home. But if a man said that, these modern women, they'll say the man is being controlling. But I'm sorry, if you can't tell her to take her behind home, then she shouldn't be your girlfriend, and you shouldn't be protecting her from nothing. And now you had them up here getting into these folks' business. What if Lawrence had turned the gun on all of them? And for Tatiana, if the relationship with Lawrence was not working out, why didn't you just leave him alone instead of going on with all this rah-rah every day and having these arguments for nothing? Let's go ahead and get the conversation started. Special thank you to a longtime subscriber, Avery, who said never stop. I appreciate you, Avery, for all of your support, as well as our brothers Smoke Jensen, Dark Power, and Tommy H. Don't forget that you can support this channel as well. Links to Cash App and PayPal are below. Ladies, fellas, want a balanced analysis, want the truth from a woman's perspective? Then you're going to want to subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to like and share.